Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and welcome to Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. Once again, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and I'm your host. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, visit our website, legendthesuperstitionmountains.com. They are trying to get the whole t-shirt and all that thing worked out before the rendezvous. Obviously, our vendor had a problem and then decided not to exist anymore. So let's get into this week's story. The story goes back early days of the Arizona Territory. Involves a woman, I believe they're going to pronounce her name Cachie. She's a Yavapai Indian, and her father's the chief of the Yavapai tribe up in central Arizona. She's not very well. She has a number of health issues as well as some physical deformities, one of them being a twisted foot or twisted leg, which would lead us to believe she had a club foot. And because of this, even though she's the chief's daughter, she's a little ostracized with the group, within the tribe. As she grows up, she's kind of timid, very quiet, but very intelligent. Her father sees possible uses for her, and there's an integration program where they take tribal members from different groups and send them to live with other groups to learn culture and kind of help them with the reservation life and stuff. They send her off to San Bernardino, and she's there for a period of time. When she returns to her father, now she not only speaks Yavapai, but she speaks English very well and Spanish. So she becomes very useful to her father as an interpreter for the rest of her life, in his life, his reign as chief. Because of this, there's a period of time where General Crook and a man named Charles Denung, they're trying to get the Yavapais and the chief to kind of settle out at Date Creek on a reservation. Now, this does not bode well because they move them. Eventually, the Apaches and the Yavapai have to do a 180-mile trek to San Carlos because they keep taking the land from them. But at this period, they're trying to set them up with something, and the chief is not very trustful. Charles Denung, who's actually a pretty well-known pioneer into Arizona. He died around 1916, but he came into Arizona very early on, I believe with Pauline Weaver's son. And he has scouted and prospected and done all kinds of different things. You can usually find something of a biography. I think there's a couple books on him. And at this time, he's one of the people working with Crook and working with the Yavapai. So the chief brings his daughter down because Denung speaks Spanish as well as English. But additionally, Crook and most of his men do not speak Spanish. So Cachie's going to be able to kind of like sort things out because the chief trusts Denung. He does not trust Crook. Things go really well for them there. In fact, things go so well, and she's accommodated so well that Denung asks her to stay at his ranch and work for him. And she agrees because obviously feeling ostracized from her tribe and everything like that. So she remains around Denung for a year or two, and after a while she realizes he's treated her very well, treated her like a human being. And despite her infirmities and her handicap, and she tells Denung, I know where there's a lot of gold. The Yavapais would kill someone for telling anyone this, but they don't want nothing to do with me. But I know where their stuff is, and it's out towards the Harquahala Mountains. And she's talking to him, and he believes for some reason that she's thinking it's what she thinks is gold is really copper pyrites that are in the area. And she keeps trying to tell him, no, you let me take you here and all this. Well, remember, I mentioned she's very timid and so forth. So once she's kind of shut down, she just kind of recedes and goes, okay, I give up. Unfortunately, that area produces quite a lot. It's the golden vein, I believe, and there's one called the Bonanza. Anyways, they produce about $15 million worth of gold out of that area. And Janung later says he really regretted that, 20 years, 30 years later, because it turned out to be one of Arizona's most successful gold fields. And she was trying to get him early on out there, and he just wouldn't listen to her. Well, after she's done working with Janung and he moves on to kind of some other things, there's another woman, her name's Maria Valencia, and she lives nearby, and she's a very nice older lady, and she has Cachie go work for her and live with her and her family, help take care of the kids, do chores, cooking, and different things. Cachie finds that family wonderful, really enjoys her time with her. So again, after a period of time, she goes to Maria and says, hey, I know where there's more gold. And because now, by this point, now the Harquahalas people are starting to discover gold. She says there's gold in this other area. And Maria's really overweight, a bit heavy-set woman, not in great shape, and she can't make the trip, but she sends her husband with Cachie. And they go down. And he's not real familiar with prospecting. What he's seen in gold doesn't match up with this rusty-looking rock he's finding everywhere in this area. And Cachie's trying to tell him, no, there's gold in this, there's gold in this area. I'm trying to remember what the name of the mine is. The Golden Eagle, I think it is where they actually go. There's a place called Cachie's Well. And the Golden Eagle mine is where they're at, and I think they ended up pulling $3 million out of there. So again, Cachie just keeps her mouth shut, says, okay, I guess I don't know what I'm talking about, and they go home. Obviously not working out for anyone. Well, now there's a man named Peter Ocha. Well, what happens is Cachie, after her time with the Valencias, she moves back up by Peoples Valley, and she's in her 40s, and she's living in a miner's shack. She's not living well. Her health has deteriorated severely. And remember, she's crippled. She's doing what she can to help out at ranches and stuff just to kind of keep her way around. Well, Peter Ocha actually becomes friends with her. His mother must have known her from somewhere. He's doing a freight route from Ehrenberg to Prescott. And as he's doing this freight route, he will stop by Cachie's house or miner's shack, and he'll drop off herbs and some food and stuff from his mother. His mother would say, stop by and see the lady. Now, he's very young. He's in his late teens, maybe 20 years old. He sees her as this elderly Native American indigenous woman. And he always spends time and talks to her and stuff. So after a period of time, he's leaving this stuff. She tells him, look, I'm getting old. I'm not very well, but I can take you if you will give me 2 days. We can go down. I will show you where there's gold. There's a place. And he's like, well, you're talking about the Harquahala. And she's like, no, it's on the southern end of the range. No, you need to go down and in this area. And she said, I promise you, I guarantee you, if we spend 2 days, it'll be worth your while. He kind of feels sorry for her, but he also starts to believe her and thinking, I think she might really be onto something. So he tells her, I promise you I'll take you. We will go. He's not sure how well this is going to go because she's really in bad condition. But he tells her, let me take my freight. I'll be back within 2 weeks. I'll come back and we will go on the trip. He comes back and she's passed away. And he and his son and even his grandson would continue with what limited information he had to search that area. They did find these rusty pieces of quartz that had some gold containing in it, but they could never track it to an actual mine, a Lode mine. So a number of years go by, and I think it is in 1892, there's a story in the Yuma papers. About 20 years earlier, there was 2 Frenchmen had come into Yuma. They'd come in with all this rusty-looking quartz that was full of gold. And they'd found it scattered about, and they'd filled some packs with it. And they came into town, and it turned out they had about $8 grand worth of gold that they left at the general store on receipt. They resupplied, said they would be back, told them to take care of the 8,000. They would be back with even more. And the 2 Frenchmen leave. Now, so you figure this is about 1872. The 2 Frenchmen take off, kind of cross-references the several different stories, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But they take off and never return again. 20 years later, they're doing this story because the store's been sold. I think it was Hooper's store in Yuma held the money for so long. And eventually the guys aren't coming back, and then the names and everything disappear. It's funny because you have the two Frenchmen, the French soldiers, the two soldiers, and all the stories. Or there's the Sierra Estrellas, the Superstition Mountains. Almost the stories, even though we can say Robert Bowen and Mason and all these people are real people, the stories are very, very similar and around the same time periods. So anyway, so these two men, so the story stays out there where there's a man named George Sears, and George Sears is a prospector, and he'd been out, and he's out at Ajo, and he's running pack saddles and some supplies between Ajo and Phoenix. And he's out by what we call the Eagle Tail Mountains, which are very close to the Harquahalas and by the foothills. And he's out in that area, and he gets turned around, and there's a storm coming in, and he finds this prospect hole, and he starts digging around in it, and there's all this rock. It's quartz with a bunch of rust spots and iron through it. He doesn't see much to it, but he needs something because his pack saddle, for some reason, need displaced. They're uneven. So he starts putting a bunch of the rock in one of the pack saddles to balance it out. Well, big storm rolls in. He goes and finds and takes cover in the foothills of the mountains till the storm passes, continues on his way to Phoenix. Well, no, actually, he doesn't make it to Phoenix. The storm's so bad and everything takes its toll. He actually returns to Ajo, was the story. He gets back to Ajo. He's unloading everything. And like, okay, I'm going to have to reload here soon and make another trip. And then he looks at the rock closer and he finds it's all got gold all through it. Problem with Sears, he was never able to find it again, because while he knew the general vicinity was in, he could never find the prospect hole. And out there by the Eagle Tail, between the Eagle Tail Mountains and the Harquahala Mountains, he could never relocate that spot. Now, Harquahala, we've been out to. I took the kids and everybody out. We were out in my Bronco years ago. We had a fun adventure out there. We went out. I wanted to kind of tour around the area. I was kind of new of some of these stories. And we went down a wash. And my Bronco had about a 4 or 5 inch lift and had big mud tires. Well, what happened is I got down in the washes and I was working my way down. And unfortunately, one of my tires went flat. Well, I didn't really have a spare the size of what I had. And I'm in the wash, tipped sideways, kind of at a weird angle. And so I had to climb out, walk down the road to get a cell signal. And dusk is coming. We're out there with the truck. It's down in the wash, and monsoon storm starts blowing in. And I'm watching the monsoon storm coming in from the southeast and across Phoenix. So I'm sitting out there and I'm watching the storm approaching, going through town, and I realize it's going to swing around and come back our way. And as I'm watching it, I get a hold of this guy, this tow truck driver, flatbed. He comes out, and we're down in the thing. What we had to do was chain it up and then basically drag the truck up to the top of the hill. And then we had to get it on the flatbed, ride with him back into town, and he was able to put a spare, not same size, little off, but a tire on and threw my other tire in the back. Took several hours. I will never forget sitting in that truck watching that storm rolling in. We got out of there. It just started raining when we started to roll out of there up above the wash. It poured the rest of the night. So we would have been down in that wash, stuck in the truck. I don't know if it would have been a flash flood, but you never know. But it taught me a lesson to have a good spare, especially when you have those bigger tires and so forth. But that was our trip down there. I remember we spent a good portion of the day searching around the area. I was just looking for anything, prospect holes and different things, and didn't really come up with anything other than an expensive tow bill because he charged me for that. And I had to have the tire redone, which those tires, God, even back then, this had to be the early 2000s. I think it was running me, for all 4 tires, it was running me around $1,200 to $1,500. It was pretty expensive at that point in time. Today it would be astronomical. Anyways, that was one of our trips down there. And again, it just kind of like died out. I remember spending 4 or 5 hours in that wash going, please get here, watching the lightning coming in and just sitting there thinking, But fortunately, It was the day and age of cell phones, and I was able to get a gentleman out there after he'd been done. He actually left his dinner to come out. I paid for his dinner, so I told him, you missed your dinner and stuff, so here's something extra for that and all. He was like, no, no, no. I said, no, you got us out of there and got us, we're going to get home safely and all, so it was all good. So there's the Cachie or Cachie, or however we would say her name. We know how to spell it, at least. There's the story about her possible Lode mine gold field. It's interesting. If you're ever out there, it's an interesting area. A lot of prospects, a lot of people still out there working those gold areas. A lot of color and stuff in the areas. You can look it up. Like I said, about $15 million in gold out in that area has been pulled out. So from what I'm gathering, there's still probably some stuff out there. And I know there's some people I still know working out there. So I hope you enjoyed that story this week. We get back in. We're kind of southeast of Phoenix now, but we'll come back around and we'll get back into superstitions. Before we leave today, this coming Monday, not today Monday, but the next Monday, History's Greatest Mysteries will be doing a program on the legend of the Lost Dutchman Mine featuring moi. We will have a special episode that day, Chasing Legends, that will show you kind of my trip and journey to that and my involvement in that program. Hopefully they didn't cut me all the way out, because I had a lot to do with the program. And then you'll see me on screen with Lawrence Fishburne that night and doing all that. A lot of good insight before the show. Please check it out. History Channel next Monday night. Look for your local times or whatever to watch that. Additionally, we're also going to finally release, in between now and then, the Dawns of Arizona, our 90th anniversary trek hike. So we're going to put that out there so everybody can see that. Not going to be a Chasing Legends or anything to interrupt our lives on Friday. It'll be probably released on a Wednesday. So you got a lot to look forward to today. You got that, you got the lives, and you got History's Greatest Mysteries. We'll double you up on the Monday night. So please please check it out. And remember, most of all, always remember, I'm Wayne Tuttle. You're not. And this was Chasing Legends.